Last time out, they were in Germany driving big American muscle cars around the Nordschleife, but this time they decide to stay in Europe. It is Circuit de Navarra, but all of a sudden there's a hum of GT3s. We go legendary today with the McLarens, and it is all to play for in the PT Autosport eSeries. You will see it all live here, of course, on the Global Sim Racing channel. Good evening, everyone. I am Craig King, and with me in the booth is my director, Christian Duploy. He will be using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. A track not used a lot in motorsport, but is something that has been catching the eye of many drivers in the real world and iRacing. Navarra is something fresh to the sim. With more information, we go to Joe Peak for our GSRC track guide.
Welcome to Circuito de Navarra. A relatively recent addition to the European racing scene, this track opened in 2010 just about 2 hours south of the French border near Los Arcos, Spain. The three available configurations range between 15 and 6 turns, going from 2.4 miles down to only 0.8 of a mile. In metric, that's just under 4 kilometers down to 1.3 kilometers. Its most notable features are the plethora of sharp, slow bends throughout. But despite this, it opens on a fast set of kinks for turns 1 and 2. This makes the setup for the hairpin of turn 3 a difficult proposition. That's not to say it lacks some more open radii. Turns 5, 6, and 7 have quite a flowing sequence. The final half of the course is especially full of the tighter corners, while also changing direction constantly. There's not much elevation change to speak of, but because of that, the fans have a slew of viewing mounts to take in quite a bit of the track. Motorcycles, lower-level open-wheelers, TC, and GT cars are all regular visitors. Plus, it brings regional series from across the borders, with both British and French championships making visits. iRacers can rejoice with this being part of the base content included with their subscription. No doubt they'll find out why it's an easy draw for fans in the real world to come check out this new facility.
Well, I can't really explain it better than the great Joe Peak, because Joe Peak taught me, but at the same time, I can just give you a quick rundown of what they will be expecting out here today. Fantastic track here with a lot of double combination corners out there. You see it going into 1, you go hard braking into 2, and you keep that momentum down for 3, and then it is a nice little run down. Then you have that double combo again, 6 into 7. A lot of those combos will just help you open up. Track state, you do have a lot of grass on the inside of the corners. The outside, there's a lot of AstroTurf, so you do get the opportunity to run wide, something that these GT cars will love, because this is the track that you really do feel is suited for GT cars as well as the motorbikes that you see around here. A little bit of elevation change. You can't see it very well on the map, but there is a small bit of elevation change near the end of the lap, so that will catch from drivers out. Slow corners in these cars will be interesting. When I say these cars, the legendary McLarens. We are back to the old legacy McLaren GT3 out here today for these drivers. It's going to be very interesting to see what these drivers can do, because it used to be a staple for some drivers. But one thing I was always told is you've got to be very careful how to drive these things. They're not like regular GT3 cars. So whoever can control this the best probably will be doing the best out there. Because we do have a championship going on, and all eyes will be on Lewis Bielicki. Can he catch up to Garrett Maines? Well, he might be able to, and maybe we will see if Benjamin Nelson. Well, unfortunately, I don't see a Benjamin Nelson out there at the moment, so looks like it's just going to be those two. Mateo Kuzna will also be trying to battle on with Daniel Falkingham. Really good battles out for him last week, not last week, when he had that around the Nordschleife. Rest of the top 5, or even the top 6, when you see how close it is with Tripiano, it is all still to play for. Remember, what is at stake for them is a drive for PT Autosports. So very interesting to see what happens. Qualifying is just ending. There is the information, because the important thing is it's a 1-hour race and it's a forced fuel limit. So they will have to go for a pit stop, definitely. So that's going to be very interesting when it comes to not just fuel saving, to see if someone can go an extra lap, but also just to see what is they able to do in terms of getting an undercut. Of course, that driver partnership worth $250,000, all up for grabs. We were talking about Garrett Maines currently leading that. Be interesting to see what happens today. It is oh so close, and remember, this is round 4 of 6. They are just over the halfway hill. It is all downhill from here in the best possible way. And speaking of downhill, qualifying is at the very bottom of that hill. Lewis Bielicki, literally as I was just talking, takes the pole away from Bryce Rodriguez by 5,000th of a second. And I don't think Bryce in the number 24 is going to make a chance to make a move here. The checkered flag comes out. He has had to accept it. What a lap out of nowhere for Lewis Bielicki. So while these drivers will still get a chance to just finish off this lap, you've got 2 minutes to finish this lap, but with Bryce going, feels a little bit slower there. I think he has conceded. That's going to be it there for Bryce. Garrett Maines is currently in P3. There he is. He's got the number 1 on his car today. And he will just keep it going for the moment. He probably is looking for some time. No, he's just going to hold on as well. Very good time for Garrett Maines. But Bryce Rodriguez out of nowhere just losing that lead. So unfortunate. Matthew Deschenes will be the 4th with Daniel Folkingham just here in 5th. He's got some time left out there, and he's going to try and see what he can do. And 35 left on that time that they've got to get back into the pit. And you can just see it is tight around some of these aspects, some of these corners. But it's very interesting to see just how much space you've got to make some moves around here. And another thing, when we talk about forced fuel limits here and a forced fuel stop, getting the pit entry right, there's 2 entry lines here. And you think you see a line going just in the entry of turn 13. No, it's right there before turn 14. Daniel Folkingham's just going to come across the line. He's just got this last lap to go. Can he improve? It's going to be very tight. And he will, but not enough to go anywhere up. Mark Anthony Hinkson, he will jump 2 places to 8th. And he'll be the last man. 1 more driver left to go. It's Ranieri, Riley Stanley as well, just finishing up. But Alessandro Ranieri, I believe, is the last man to set some times. He'll come across the timing board not fast enough. Stasny will just be finishing up as well. There is Ranieri. Comes across, he finishes in 6th. That will be all she wrote with 20 seconds left to go in this race. So just a reminder, this is actually a no pit stop race. When I say it's forced fuel, they have managed to limit the fuel. These old GT3 cars, they can go about an hour. And the idea is an hour-long race. Well, they've got to fuel save. This is actually a really good challenge. You want to have that challenge. You want to learn how to be a race car driver. One of the things is you've got to manage that fuel. You can't just go all hell-bent for leather for the whole race. So they're going to be looking to see if they have to do a little bit of pack racing out there today as qualifying ends. We'll just go down the standing grid. Well, the starting grid is a rolling grid because Lewis Bielicki, by 5,000ths of a second, gets pole away from Bryce Rodriguez, who's in 2nd, and Garrett Maines will be 3rd. Matthew Deschenes will be 4th, and Daniel Folkingham will be 5th. There's Alessandro Ranieri in 6th. Henry Jury will be 7th. Mark Anthony Hinkson, as we just saw, will take 8th. Riley Stanley will be 9th, and Christian Hines will take 10th. Noah Ingram Harrison, he will be 11th position today with Aaron Ramon in 12th. And Zachary Mertes will take 13th. Samuel Burnett, will be 14th. Andy Trippiano, unfortunately, 15th with Anton Schopler in 16th. And Charles Wimby will be 17th. Brendan Blinn will be 18th. Brandon William will take 19th with Connor Henry in 20th. Actually, the last at the time qualifiers was Connor Henry. So these next 4 drivers will be lining up via iRacing, which is Matteo Kunzner, Brandon Devine, Mahir Ranman, and Eddie Blanco, all in that order, did not set a qualifying time. So with 24 drivers, they will take a bit of a formation lap around here today. Track temp for those interested, it will be 26 Celsius, 79 Fahrenheit. Humidity of 50%, so that will be a little bit of an issue when it comes to the speed out there and a little bit of the grip, but able to hold on what they can. This will be very interesting just what's able to do. They do have a little bit of grip around there, and it's the longest race they've ever done in the series. It's an unused track, not very used a lot around here. Is Navarra. It's a free track on iRacing to anyone who's wanting to get this track a go. It is a very fun and quick track with 3 different layouts, and let me tell you, from watching the different layouts in use, I can tell you this track is very good for single class racing. So expect to see some really interesting battles, I would say, at the end of the race, because the name of the game today is to, if you know Formula E, let's talk about it in Formula E style. Save the battery until the end. So save your fuel until the end. When you know you've got enough fuel to just literally start attacking at the end of the race, start attacking. And that's going to be interesting. Who can save enough fuel through the start of the race just to be able to just get that opportunity to have a few more times to attack out there? So eyes will be on that there. We don't actually have a grid to show you your fuel, or we don't have that like in IMSA or WEC or SRO or anything, or like I was saying, Formula E. Not going to be any batteries or fuel management things that we will see. Just going to have to go and watch. And if it is a race that they do need to do fuel saving, well, the run down to turn 2, maybe a lift at turn 1, lift and coast into 2. And then you've got a couple of hairpins that you can be looking to see if they can try and save a little bit of fuel if they're not in slipstream. Again, turn 9 will be one of those, which in a minute we'll be able to just have a look around those corners. So we're just waiting for a few more cars before we get the formation lap to go. It's a full formation lap around here. And there are those beautiful McLarens. Oh, it's been a while since I've seen them. They are very fun. I tried driving these cars, and I'm not going to say I did very well, because I didn't do very well. And I don't think many people are able to do very well in these cars. They were a handful to get right. But the MP412C was one of the first GT3s that iRacing had. And they have kind of had a little bit of a legacy. These cars, as well as the old Ford GT3, just a little bit of a legacy on the sim. So it's nice that now they're still around in their, no pun intended, legacy mode. In legacy standard, they are able to keep going and have a little bit of life left. I think we're just waiting on one more car. And there we go. So once again, a shout out to PT Autosport, who holds it together. This is part of the Aspiring Driver Shootout competition. Remember, if you haven't been here for the start, $250,000 scholarship is available out there for the winners of this series. And they literally try, they don't try, they do. Tries the weird word, because they try to find people. They found people. They found 24 drivers that want to get that scholarship, want to see what they can do. And when they get there, they will be able to get some mentoring and coaching from some of the best people in PT Autosport to get them on to the racetrack. They do have a junior racing program, which is what they try to use. And they have this partner program that will help them. But once these drivers are in that system, the sky is literally the limit. There's no more glass ceiling. And all that driving will come to fruition. And as you've seen in the past, some sim racers who have made that jump into real world racing, not just in road racing nowadays, but also in NASCAR. It started mainly in NASCAR when you saw it, but nowadays the road racers getting on their chance. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens out there for the winner. Just coming through turn 3. That's one of the double combo corners that I was talking about earlier. And you can see how tight it is. You probably won't see a little bit of overtaking action around there today for these drivers, but very interesting. Downhill into this little kink at 4, and then they'll go around. This is 5. And look at this. They've gone downhill. Now a little bit of an uphill and a little bit of a camber just starts to form. It's going to be interesting to see if a driver can hold it around the outside. It's very tough. But it tightens up into 6, and from 6 it goes into 7. Figure this all a little bit like a reverse barber at the end of the track, if you know barber, as you just get a sweeping right hand and then tightens up, then a quick left afterwards. So interesting to see. And then you can't get on the throttle very quickly. There is turn 8, and then a nice little breather down the back straight on the way to 9. Track is remaining 26 Celsius, 79 Fahrenheit out there as the drivers make their way down. And this, as I was talking about, you've got a chance to get some lift and coast here just to save a little bit of fuel. And on to the brakes, they go for 9. And then another curve here, kind of a staple of the Iberian moto tracks, the FIS tracks, as they say. The FIS is the skiing, but the FIM, sorry, is the motorbikes. And then again, more tight corners. And there is space there. You can see they're going too wide, no problem. But can you get too wide as you come into turn 12? Another one of those double combos. And then it is all speed from here as they come back to the medium part of the medium layout here. There's the barriers behind you. That is the bit that you go straight on for the second layout, the medium speed. We're on the long speed. Pace car will go in. It goes in before the final corner. They're going to have to wait. Lewis Bailicki will hold Bryce Rodriguez, Garrett Mays, Matthew Jean, Daniel Falkin, Asala Ranieri, and the rest of them as they come around turn 15. 1 hour of Navarra will start very shortly. Drivers waiting to see when the green flag will drop. Bailicki is going to look to see what he can do. He catches them at the very last moment and gets a really good start. And that's going to be very tough for Rodriguez because it will start to go. Garrett Mays gets a really good run. They're going to go side by side into turn 1. And he will try to get the late braking. Can't make it. The line goes around. A little bit wide goes Bailicki. And almost into the back. Everyone's just bunching up a little bit. And they're able to hold on. But now Bailicki, with that mistake, has to defend off Rodriguez and defend off the rest of the drivers. It's going to be very tight to see if he can make the move. No move there for Rodriguez. You're on board with Bailicki in the picture-in-picture. Nothing else happening in the back. Ranieri goes down 2 positions. Mateo Kuzna is making up the positions in the background. He's already 10 places up. Is there a move here? It's so tight, they're going to try and go side by side. A little bit bumping between Rodriguez and Bailicki. They cannot make it work. And now he's just going to have to wait. Is there going to be another move? Look at that driver in the background. And that is Mateo Kuzna, who is trying to just go up the order. What a start it was for him. He's already up some places. Top 5 unchanged from the start. Zachary Mertes, unfortunately, has had a moment out there. Look at him. He's just trying to find some way to go. Excuse me, can I get in? He goes, he can't find any opportunity. Gonna lose some more positions out there. I believe that was Brendan Blinn there as well with Andy Tripiano. Unable to get by, and Anton Scholler now holding on. In fact, Anthony Blinn, there he is. He just went around in the background there. Just a little bit of a moment there coming out of 13. But they've done 1 lap. They're going to have to do it probably another 35 more times out there today. But for Lewis, he is able to hold on to that lead. And at the start of this race, that is so important. Sometimes leading when you're in these fuel races is probably not the best thing. But now he controls the pace. Now he's able to just start thinking, well, maybe I'm going to be able to just control this now. Maybe I'm going to be able to just hold on. Keep a look. In fact, behind, I just saw Deshawn's just make a great move on Garrett Main out of nowhere into turn 6. Got the run on the inside of turn 5. Used his advantage. Held on to it. Fantastic there. Main's probably not expecting that. And he's, unfortunately, now he's just going to have to make some positions up there. So, very unfortunate there for Mains. He's going to try and make a response here down into turn 9. And wide goes Deshawn's. So he will lose a position. It's going to be almost losing a position as well to Falkingham, but he holds on. And they're going to go side by side, and that is Falkingham still trying to battle it. Good defense, though, from Deshawn's, because Deshawn's having the outside there at 12. Just had to really get working. So one mistake, made that move, really good move, then went a bit too deep on the brakes. And they do have ABS, do have some TC, so that's not a problem out there for these drivers. And more drivers going wide at the final corner at turn 15. Not needing too much of an issue. Is Folkingham going to look for a move here? Now, the book would say no. He doesn't want to make a move here because he wants to save the fuel. Not looking at fuel saving at this moment, as Bilecki is looking to go. So, Deshawn, he wants to look forward. He can't look forward at the moment as Folkingham is right behind him. And you've got to feel Deshawn's now knows how to attack 5 into 6 because, well, last lap he did it on Garrett Main. So he knows what to do. But defending it is not that easy. In fact, this is the move. Wide went Mains. I think he just caught the curb a bit too much. And there was a line there for Deshawn's. Managed to take it. Mains keeping himself cool and calm here. And then again, Deshawn's went a little bit too wide. Hit the sausage curb. That set everything off in motion. So that just split everything up for a bit. And they've lost it. These two, 1.5 seconds to 2 seconds ahead of everybody. Rodriguez holding on with Bilecki. And you've got to feel that these two probably happy enough to stay together. This is the pedigree for Lewis. Remember, he is a top driver, PESC driver, or former PESC driver, and is able to get the grips of a track like this. I'm not entirely sure. I'll have to do some quick research. Pretty sure they have driven this track in PESC in some form, whether or not the Challengers or the main event, but you can see fastest lap, Rodriguez 2/10 faster last time by. About 1/10 actually when you look at it. 393 plays 5 dead. And wide a little bit go Luis there. Got to be careful. If you look at the time, as you see, these drivers having a little bit of a moment out there. Ronnie Stansney just getting a little bit of a battle with Kuzna as Kuzna continues to make some moves up the field. And Stansney not able to make it. What happened there was that was actually a 3 wide overtake. I think we'll probably get that on replay shortly. Out of nowhere was Kuzna just seeing an opportunity to make the move. Made it absolutely fantastically. Stansney now down again, losing out. But for Matteo, not setting a qualifying time. Already 15 places up on this 22 car field. It was meant to be 24. We lost 2 drivers who were DNS, not FS, did not start. The 22 drivers out there with 1 driver in the pits and retired already. So still quite an achievement to go that far up the field. As we see Ranieri looking for an opportunity, and maybe with Jury going a bit wide, we'll be able to get it, and he does indeed. And Jury there, not at the best of laps, but also this is smart. He didn't try to fight that. He allowed the position to go. That's a really good heads-up play there in this sort of battle. Allowed the position to go. Keep up Ranieri. Ranieri pulls him back to the rest of them. He also saves fuel. It's a really good little strategy here. What he's got to do is just make sure he keeps that pace, because Mark Anthony Hickson's right behind him. Does have a little bit of pace. I'm not saying he's going to be able to make a move here, but you just got to time it right out there, and that's not happening for him. So let's look at this move again, and you can see this is Kuzna. He sees the opportunity. I don't think he was going to go for it first time, but then he sees both of these drivers going side by side through 2, and he saw the door open as they were battling so much. They overshot the corner, and they both went wide. Matteo decided, thank you very much. That's an easy move. A little bit of door banging there between Stansney as well and Jury, but did not need to do it. Well, did not mean to do it. Sorry, not need to do it. Did not mean to do it, and held off. So Bryce Rodriguez continues on with his battle at the moment. You see there is Lewis there, the man from Europe, The man that really has the pedigree on a track like this and a car like this, because you've got to feel he's a man that probably knows this car from special events on iRacing and other GT3 events. So he probably had a little bit of a head start on these drivers, which is kind of handy for him because last time out, remember the Nordschleife, he had a hand on the Nordschleife. He never drove the Xfinity car. So it's one of those where he had to learn what he was doing on the fly. They only get about an hour, if that, to learn what they're doing around a track like that. It is literally, here's your car, here's your track, get it, learn it, you got to race. That is so tough out there for these drivers to do. Start to see a little bit of gaps forming as we're on the exhaust camera almost in this car. You can see as Lewis just trying to hold on, and realistically he's holding on because these drivers know what they're doing. The pace will be interesting. We'll keep an eye on what's happening, because if these two keep on driving, there's that timing tower. You see Garrett Maines, he's 1.9, it hovers 1.9, 2, 1.8. If that starts getting lower, that's the concern for these two drivers, because they're happy enough to race together at the moment and just stay together. And in a race, when we're talking an hour and we're talking fuel economy and all this, I like to describe it as a peloton. It's tour cycling. It's Grand Tour cycling. It's the peloton. You got your little breakaway group right now, Bialik and Rodriguez. And what they're doing is they're just putting a pace up, and they're wondering, can we keep this pace up through the rest of the tour stage? Call it a tour stage, it's the race. Can we keep this pace up? Are the rest keeping tabs with us, or are they faster than us? Do we need to keep the pace up? Do we need to just hold this pace? Well, they can see behind, there is Garrett Maines right behind. But Garrett is happy enough to stay there, and he's not in slipstream. And as they come for the timing tower once again, they're all matching each other. It's a 39.9 for Lewis, a 39.8 for Rodriguez, a 39.9 for Maines, the Sean's a 39.8. They're all matching each other. So there's no cause to worry at the moment for any of these drivers. So this is why it's peloton racing at the moment, because they're packing up, or they're just grouping and spreading out, but they're keeping a solid pace. These drivers aren't really doing a little bit of pack racing, because that is Christian Hinds making an overtake on Ingram Harrison and getting it done through that 2-3 combination and held it into 4. And Noah trying to see what he can do. Late braking, that's very late. There's an overlap, the gap there, a little tap off the rear. Noah probably went a bit too hot there. It brings in Jury for this move. But now he's just going to have to back it off a little bit, set himself up. Probably a bit too much curb there as they come out of 8, so he won't get a good run down the back straight into 9. Getting caught napping a little bit from that overtake, it feels like, but unfortunately, he's going to have to just keep calm. He's back to a net 0, and looking back, yeah, went a little bit too wide into 3, and he opened the door up for Noah, for Christian, sorry. That was that. Look at that. You can't see the elevation change on turn 15 until the very end. And you just saw it there, a little bit of elevation. You can just see it in the background there with Deshawn's coming around the corner. They start another lap. And again, everyone's lapping the same. Everybody is lapping the same. An 8.66, a 9.16, a 9.86, a 9.85. Top 4 are all lapping the same. They're 3.5 seconds between first and fourth, as you can see on the timing tower. But there is no cause for concern at the moment. The cause for concern will be what will happen when Mateo Kuzner gets past Daniel Folkingham, because he's 6 seconds behind these two, and there's Mateo in 6th, who's already made up 15 places to start the race. If he can get by, well, that time it could just go all of a sudden. So it's interesting to see what's going to happen when Mateo gets by. It's not a case of if, it will probably be a case of when. The man with the highest I rating in the field is Mateo. We're just keeping our eyes right now on what Bryce is trying to do with Luis. Through another lap. Now, this is what we were talking about. This is Mateo Kuzner He's battling Daniel Folking, and Mateo's in the blue car. Daniel is in the orange car. You've got to feel that if he gets a good run, and you can just see he's right on that bumper. Really found a couple attempts there through that start of the final half of the track, at the end of the second half of the track, second third of the track, sorry. Gets a good run out of 15. If he's got the overspeed, he'll look for it right now. And in fact, you know what? That looked like Daniel was probably going for defense. No, he's lifting. He knows there is no point trying to fight this. Fight this? Why fight this? You'll just lose more time. Work with him if you can. Maybe even see a few things that may help you in the later stages of the races. If you can just pluck a couple feathers off that cap that Kuzna's wearing, you might be able to keep your eyes and see what feathers you need to get around the air. That's basically what Kuzna is, well, giving Folkingham right now. That's what Folkingham wants right now. Follow someone that's a little bit faster than you, or just got a little bit more expertise or a little bit more experience. Hopefully you can learn a couple things, because these are cars that are so tough. You want to drive them on the edge when you think this is such a good track for this car, because it likes these types of track where it's medium and high speed corner tracks. Yeah, you do throw in a couple slow corners, but such a strong track for this car. Tracks that really suited this car used to be Fuji Speedway. It was a really good track for this car, and you think about it, they kind of have some similarities. Yes, I know Fuji's a little bit faster, and you've got more space, and you've got a lot more mid to high speed corners. But when you look at like the corner structures here, and you get those slow hairpins or those slow, then you get into the fast sweeping stuff, and then the double combo corners. You know, I'm talking about the final section of the track, and I'm talking about that run down to turn 1 with turn 2 into Coca-Cola at Fuji. You can understand, you take what you see from Fuji, you put it into Navarra. They're not the same track, but the way the corners are lined up, it does work to these cars. So an interesting comment. I did not know this. Lewis has never driven this car. That surprises me. Thank you very much for those giving us some information out there. Not driving this car is very interesting. I've got to be honest. That's not something I expected to hear from somebody with his pedigree, because, again, it is one of the oldest GT3 cars on the sim. Not saying everyone's driven it, but in the years ago, we're talking 2018, it was like a car to drive for the GT3s. So you wanted to drive fast, you sometimes had to get in this car. That's why it's got such a nice legacy. When you think about the legacy of this car in general, you know, sim racing companies making racing wheels based off the steering wheel from this car. It's an iconic steering wheel. It's an iconic car with the rocker paddles for the shifters as well. Really is something that the drivers love. So interesting to see what he can do. It just goes to show as well, he manages to just out-qualify Bryce by 5 thousandths of a second. And it just goes to show how well that is. And now maybe, well, I say maybe, I'm pretty sure Bryce knows what the plan is. Doesn't need to. We go on board with the chopper. Just gives a little look. Apologies there. Just gives a little look. Doesn't need to think about anything crazy here. And when I say anything crazy, he then blinks out. So that's the commentator's curse. I'm going to not do that again. But that's a move where if you were in a sprint race, you had the run coming out of 15, you consider trying to make a move into 2. Not in this situation. And that's what they got to start thinking about here. When do you make that move? So again, we've got 42.5 minutes to go. It's crazy. 42.5 minutes to go. Maybe you look at it with 5 to go, just depending on that fuel. I do like, by the way, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, those on the comments and everyone watching. Just those interesting things. 3.5 years, and look at him already, one of the top drivers in the sim. Just goes to show you don't need to start at any. You can start at any age. So I didn't say no. You can start at any age and keep on going. I mean, I shouldn't really say much. It's now my 6th year in iRacing coming on now. I'm starting my 6th year, so where am I nowadays? But that just goes to show it's the time and the pace you put in is the way it goes. I'm just throwing myself under the bus there, but one man is not throwing himself under the bus. This is Schloper there trying to go side by side with Brendan Blinn into the turn 9 hairpin. Gets it stuck a little bit too much on the curb. That would give a nice little run for Brendan. And they're going to go side by side into 11. Brendan decides not to go for it, but a little bit of a tap on the rear allows the inside to be open. And yeah, Anton, he had to give that respect on the inside. Goes a little bit wide. He holds onto it. And side by side, they'll go once again into 13. And you know what? They're going to be keeping side by side here, because they're going to go side by side now into the little kink up 14. You can't hold this on. They are going to hold this on. And side by side, they go finally. Finally, he gets the move done. But late and fast turning apex speed. Brilliant move there from Blinn. He's going to get this around the outside of 15. And all that work for Schloper is just gone. What a move there from Brendan Blinn. And this battle is still going. You bet your bottom dollar it's still going. But Anton cannot do anything at this time. Little shake there. Little shimmy, losing some grip. The flames come out. And I'll tell you what, that's the last thing you want to see after that little battle. You don't want to see the flames in front of you. You want to see the flames in your rearview mirror. And that is why this car was a very, very popular car. Just because the flames. It's very nice to see some flames just happening nowadays. You don't see it nowadays out there. You see nowadays, you don't able to. Sorry, you don't see this nowadays in cars. I could stay with this for the rest of the race. Just have this camera and we just see the flames coming out of Brendan Blinn's car. You know, it's just look. It's just fantastic. You don't get this nowadays, and I get why. I get why. You know, I get why. However, it's just nothing cooler in sim racing than just seeing the flames and just seeing the exhaust flames of any car. But you just see it a lot with how massive they are around here. Some more moves happening in the background as Connor Henry trying to get past Brandon William. Unable to make it so far. Going to try a late move. That's very late, and the respect had to be given from William. Otherwise, they might have a bit of an issue there, but able to hold it. Henry, unfortunately, going to have to do it all over again. Looks for the lineup here. Not going to get the lineup here. We'll have to hold back in that turn 1 at Navarra. It's tough. It's really tough out there to even try and look for a move into turn 1 because it's basically just a kink. It is an official corner. But yeah, it's just a kink. You get that a couple times here. You saw that with turn 14 when we saw that battle side by side a couple laps ago. Just goes to show. Okay, Matteo. Behind, there he is. You now see that the Shawns are trying to catch up to the back of Garrett Maines. And you know, Garrett will currently be racing GoPro on his head. How heavy will that be on the head today? Because it's going to be a very tough challenge for him. You could almost say that the top 2 is probably out of the picture. That's going to be some championship implications. And he's going to have to hope that the luck favors him because they don't know what the track combo is for the next 2 rounds. They won't know until they get to the start of each round. So you're going to have to hope that he's able to get some opportunities, but he needs to hold on to this P3. And limit the damage is the name of the game if he is going to be third. And this is what he's going to have to hope. And he knows he's been wide here through 5 into 6 before. And Matthew has taken the opportunity. However, this time, a little bit of a slide there from Matthew. Got a bit too hot and the nose just started sliding away. And he's going to have to work again. But what that has caused, there is the sky blue, the light blue, the turquoise. Call it any name you want. It's a light blue to me. Matthew Kuzner is right behind. And he's in that slipstream. And that is what you don't want to see. You don't want to see the 9K driver in your rear view mirror. But unfortunately, That is what you get. This is Mark Anthony Hinkson having a little bit of a moment. Yeah, just taking too much speed, and that's the problem with this McLaren. You take a bit too much throttle around a corner, and you have grip, but sooner or later the tires are going to say no. And we know what happens there as Deschamps goes a little bit too deep into 15. You won't get the run, but he will get Kuzna just on his back now, and Teo doesn't need to flash his lights. Everyone can see that he's right there. He's already 16 places up the order after not setting a qualifying time. It's just going to be a little bit of a worry for these drivers. So 35 minutes left, a quick rundown just for the almost first half of the race. 22 cars started the race, and the top 4 have not traded positions, or not changed positions, because these two have traded the positions once in the race, and that's helped them out. This is Garrett Maines, currently leading the championship. He's been losing time to Lewis Bielica. And Bryce Rodriguez is well. What's going to be interesting is you do have not joined us at the start of the race. I'll get my words out properly. Hour-long race, no pit stop. They have to learn to save the fuel. And once again, this is something the real-world drivers will be doing. So it's a really good challenge just to see if you're able to do it yourself. If you can learn to save fuel, you can do it in any car. I gotta be honest, I have done a little bit of eco-fuel driving just in a road car. And if you know how it is to try and save fuel in a road car, now imagine trying to do that when you're going, oh, look at the speeds they're going at the moment, 100, 200 kilometers an hour as they're going down the straight. Now imagine just trying to hypermile around here today. It's very tough out there to make some moves. I'll tell you one person who is here to make some moves. Michael Johnson has joined me in the booth. And it is very interesting, Michael, just to see what these cars are giving the drivers, because it is such a tough test in these McLarens around Navarra today.
Well, they say it's driving the fax machine. It's the MP412C. It sounds like you're talking about somebody's fax machine or their printer. So, but like you mentioned before, that flame coming out the back, I don't want that fax to come in my office. But man, these are great little cars, and this track is beautifully suited to them. They really have that nice long legs. They get running really hard. Mid-engine design, man, they go into corners like these little bits right here. And it just, you're able to stand it on the nose. I'm bummed that this car ended up getting replaced by the newer McLaren, and I hope they really take that newer McLaren and make it as good as this car. I do really enjoy this older MP412C.
Yeah, we just saw Kunzner there making the move up into fourth over to Sean's making a mistake. I got to be honest, I know the newer McLaren, They are just a car in the real world that has started to really make headways in some motorsports. WEC as well, one of them where they're really starting to go, but you just can't beat a classic. Like, you can't beat Matteo right now trying to get the run. Deschamps is losing out here. That's not what he wants to see. He wants to stay on the back here to try and save as much fuel. Kuzna is going to be threatening Maines, and on corners like this, just the threat, he's gone around and he manages to avoid Garrett Maines. Just as I was saying it, it's so twitchy, this car here, Michael. That can always happen.
And that's some really fantastic heads-up driving from all three drivers there. When somebody does make that little mistake, starts to spin the car around, if everybody, except for the one offender, is able to make it through there without making any contact, without any damage, that's some really amazing heads-up driving. Kudos to everybody in that group there.
Well, for a moment, I thought that he may have collected Garrett, but he was able to get on the brake, managed to slow it down a little bit, and then just take off the brakes just so he could roll back off the track. A little bit of smart heads-up driving there to keep himself out of danger. But yeah, everybody keeps safe. But that is kind of a bit of a fresh air there for Garrett Maines, because now he's got Deschamps right behind him once again. These two haven't been doing a lot because of this whole fuel saving. it is very important to just try to really work on how you're going to save the fuel. You came up with the name. I forgot about it. It's what they call in America hypermiling.
Hypermiling, indeed. When you're really trying to fuel save, you come into those corners and you lift. You take a beat, and then you brake, and then you come off the corner, and you kind of lazily get back into the throttle to let the car get up to speed. You got enough boost there. You got enough oomph to get you down the straight. Still going really fast, but yeah, it is challenging when you are in race situation. Here we are taking a look back or up toward the front with Rodriguez. He has been really pushing this. Bryce has made his presence known, and Luis is not having an easy time staying in front of him. It looks like it's opened up a bit now. They're about a half a second, but they've been down to only a tenth or so a couple of times. I think really Bryce has the upper hand when we get to the second half of this racetrack. So Luis is doing great until we get about to here, and you're going to watch Bryce start to close this up little by little. He's about 7/10 now, but now he's going to get closer and closer. Now, granted, some of that is the hypermiling from Luis. Some of that is sitting in the draft from Bryce, which also helps you in your hypermiling routine here. So you're not having to put quite as much forth when you're trying to catch up to the person. Meanwhile, going back to Duchesne in this battle before with Maines, this is another really tight battle. We've got a battle for first and second and third and fourth. The podium is absolutely in contention here. I would be crazy to try to make any predictions at this point.
Yeah, there's no need to make predictions at the moment. As a quick replay, this is Kuzna, who just had a moment. We'll get back to that. We'll get back to this. Look at this slide. He's straight on the lock. He's spinning that car around because he realizes that's the best way, and then lift off the brake. You saw the smoke. He locked on the brake. He went off it as well. While this is happening, lead change in the battle. Kuzna and Rodriguez, and by the kick goes, and another car's got around. What a save from Bryce Rodriguez! What an absolute save! That should have been spun around. That was fantastic.
Yeah, they turned this into a drift show. That was a really nice move right there. He had the lead, couldn't quite hold it, went a little bit too deep in there, but look at how close he's hanging on to the tail. Meanwhile, back again in this P3, P4 battle, gets the nose up on the inside. Is he going to be able to hold on to it? Gets the power down. No, doesn't quite get there, but really puts the screws to him.
Well, about 3 laps into the race, Shane made that move. Fool me once, shame on you, but fool me twice, shame on me. The Maines held on that time, and it was just a little bit of a nose, a little bit of an excuse me there from Duchesne, but he tried to go to make it. He had to look for it. Did not work, and you see Maines starting to fuel save more. He's lifting off more than what Matthew's doing. Very interesting, because that would make sense, because he is the driver that's been in the front. He's not had that slipstream. Aaron Ramon, he's going to be able to, well, not Aaron Ramon, sorry, it's Zachary Mertes. He makes that move. That's kind of what Duchesne wanted to do, but was unable to do a few laps ago.
Yeah, it's easy to say, oh, I'm just going to do this, but you really need cooperation from the other person. They need to screw up in the right way so you can get around them. It's not just, lick the stamp and send it. I mean, sure, it's fun as a joke, but you've got to be really aware of where you are and what you're doing. And look at that. Oh, just the drift show puts it on right there, tries to come back around. It was a really good attempt as we watched there, and then just got a little bit too quick on that throttle. And I think that let the rear end kick out on him.
Yeah, that's one of the problems with these cars. They do lose a little bit of the grip in the high speed, and being really good to do it. That's not the first time we've seen drivers have a little bit of a twitch around there, but it has happened a few times. And I think if you were doing a little bit of a money pool of a dollar every time you saw a car have a twitch there, unfortunately, you might not have enough money for a new car, but you'd be able to get yourself a little decast of these McLarens. As once again, as we hit over the halfway mark, Duchesne's still holding on the back of Garrett Maines. The question really is when, not if, because you do feel that Matthew does have that pace there. He's just hoping the opportunity arises.
Yeah, and looking here on the tail, off the tail of Garrett Main's car, you're able to see that well, let's just call it what it is, big ball of flame coming out of there, making the s'mores. This is a really big clue. So this is something the driver behind is able to use, because that happens when they let off the throttle. So as soon as he comes off throttle and starts to go into the coast phase, that's when you start to see that flame coming out. So behind Garrett Mains, you've got Matthew Duchesne going, all right, now I know. See, you can watch brake lights, and that doesn't help you as far as when are they lifting. But this, with that flame shooting out there, he knows exactly when that lift starts. But Garrett Mains is able to get such a great run off the corner that he can take those long periods of lift and let the car just kind of casually coast into the corner. This is some really good driving from Garrett Mains.
Yeah, and you've got to feel he's got a pedigree as well on the oval side. So you've got to feel that he actually understands fuel saving as well and how to really take a lot of coasting through the corners. It's a skill set in itself when you get on the oval. It's a totally different skill set when you come here on the road, because you've got a little bit more to do. You can't just coast into the corners when you're on a road course. You have to hope that you can just keep that pace down and keep the grip. And that's what he's doing right now. Holds on, and every now and then Matthew gets oh so close to the back. You can see he's got the flash of the light because he's not reading this fuel saving. He's not reading the slowing that Garrett is doing. But Matthew also knows, hey, if I'm ahead of you, am I going to be able to catch up to the rest of the field? I don't think I can.
Well, I think this may be a, hey, I am looking in my mirrors. You're not looking in yours. There's this guy, Daniel Falkingham, who's closing up behind us, and he's right about a second, and all this fuel saving, he's going to be making this a three-way battle. See, he's right there in the edge of your frame. Look at that orange car back there. He is really doing everything he can to catch up, and he's got a really good opportunity now. He is just a little bit over a second behind these guys, as we see, once again, Duchesne letting that open up a bit, comes into the corner. Nice balanced roll through there. Little bit hotter than Mains is in front of him, but Mains, once again, it puts that power down and is able to pull away. It looks like Mains got the message, and they're opening back up that gap on Falkingham.
They're doing it exactly. It's just a rundown of those lap times last time. So 39.968 for Mains, a 40.046 for Duchesne, a 40.047 for Falkingham. That's fine. Here's the anomaly,
tight.
though. 39.668 green. Mateo Kuzna, who's in sixth. He had that spin, remember? He's catching up, and now he'll probably see these two having a little bit of a battle as Duchesne got a good run around the outside, but Mains is going to try and defend this. He'll defend this well, and Duchesne will have to just hold on. No overlap there coming out of 9 into 10, and the defense from Mains. That's a tight corner, and he just shuts that door even before the door was made.
Yeah, this is some really fantastic racing from these guys. They are being aggressive. They're going for the passes, just like right there. Gets that nose in, puts the power down. Can he hold on to it? Doesn't look like it. Garrett Mains just putting on a masterclass of how to defend, even in a side-by-side situation. Going into the final corner, this is much tighter than it looks. They put the power down, get wide out onto that green. Now they're onto the long straight. But who's back once again? We've got Falkingham closing up just 3/4 of a second off the tail. And this is also letting Mateo Koitsner behind him catch up to this group. It's not going to be 3. It's going to be 4 people fighting for P3.
Yeah, and that's not what Mains want to see. And again, Mains lifted before Duchesne did. And Matthew got caught out by that once again. 40.8 for Matthew, 41 flat for Garrett, 40.2 for Falkingham, 39.7 for Kuzna. I'm going to keep my eyes on that, and you can see it on the timing tower, on the GSRC timing tower, when you just see that number just start to drop. And those are gaps to each car, not gaps to the leader. It's gaps to each car. So you're able to keep an eyesight there, keep a track more than we can, really. 3.3 is that gap now between Falkingham and Kuzna. That's the one I think we're keeping our eyes on, because once again, if they keep doing moves like this, they'll come together. And Duchesne, he gets the move done, but you've got to feel a little bit of a push job.
Yeah, and Falkingham is just sitting back there. He is not pushing too hard. He's letting these two just battle it out in front of him. He's figuring the more bits and pieces come falling off of these cars, the better it is for him. Now, this is absolutely a three-way fight for the final step on the podium. Falkingham is right up under the wing. Look at him here. We just have two corners to the run down that start-finish straight. This three-way battle right here, super tight as they go through that final corner, put the power down. How is this going to end up at the end of the straight? These guys are incredibly close. Duchesne about a half a second off of Maines, and Falkingham only about a quarter second off, gets his nose out there. You can go through this corner right here without any problem. You start to have to lift right after it, get back onto those brakes hard as you come around to this second part to get into turn 3, and then you have to pull the car all the way back around, and it just feels like you're getting slammed from side to side as they once again put the power down, coming down this slight downhill straight into that left-hand kink as they come around, really using the whole track this time. Nobody's having to play defense at this point. But man, this is going to get tight here with only about 21 minutes left in this race.
21 minutes left, and I wonder if Matthew realizes that maybe I've saved enough fuel behind you. I can go now. I think it's a bit early to be going at this stage of the race, but never say never. But I think he's learned this is a nice place to make a move at 9. But we've seen drivers go side by side through these parts of a section. Tightens up here in 11 because that little kink there is 10. It tightens up there at 11 and then keeps tight here into 12. Not a place you really want to be making a move. If you're going to make the overtake, you want to be assertive and get it done quickly. That's not happened. He realizes the situation. He decided to hold back. He's not looking because now you see Falkingham right ahead, right behind him. And also, again, keep your eyes on that timing tower because there is the number 60 there. Mateo Kuzna is slowly catching. And this is going to be that 4-car battle that you were talking about, Michael.
Yeah, Kuzner had a little bit of a moment back to the last time he was up with these guys. Something happened to him, not exactly sure what, but this battle, these guys just hammering each other, has allowed Mateo to catch back up. Now, he's still about a second and a half off their tail. He's just waiting for Duchesne and Maines to just go at it again. And meanwhile, Falkingham kind of waiting for the same thing. They are starting to put a little bit of a gap on him, as you see there. That has opened up just a little bit. But now, as we watch once again, Duchesne just killing him under braking, closing that up. And I think, again, that's going to be the amount of lift we're seeing out of Garrett Maines. He is lifting a good bit earlier because he's getting a wonderful launch off these corners, opening up a gap, which allows him to be able to take that just extra moment of fuel saving as he goes into these corners. Now, people look at the flame coming out of the back of these cars. This is oddly, I know it sounds really weird, and I don't completely understand it. I did have an engineer explain it to me one day, but that saves fuel. I don't know how, because it seems like it's already gone past the cylinders, but apparently somehow as they reignite that fuel as it comes out the back. Oh, and we've got to run to the pits. That's going to be diving into the pits for Matthew Duchesne. That brings Garrett Maines, Daniel Falkingham back up to one position up as Matthew Duchesne goes into the pits for ostensibly fuel and possibly, but not likely, tires.
I'd be surprised if he goes in for tires, definitely, but one that we weren't expecting, and he comes in now. That might be why he decided to go. He might have realized he was running lighter. He had the pace on the man ahead, but unable to get it. So that's going to set a chain reaction for sure. You're not going to see a chain reaction out of these drivers. The New Yorker, Bryce Rodriguez, still holding on to the back of Lewis Bialicki. It's still crazy to think that Lewis never drove this car. That's not me having a knock at him, folks. That's not me having a knock. It's just one of those cars that when you know GT3 driving on iRacing, usually this is the car that you give a go just to see if you can tame the beast. And I gotta say, Michael, I never could tame this beast. A lot of these other drivers, they are able to.
I loved this car in iRacing. I loved it in real life. It is a fantastic car. It's a bit of an old car now, and I think it's a legacy car at this point, so I think it's free on the iRacing service. So if you really wanted to have some fun, then yeah, this is a great car to go try out. And ooh, what a big jump. That's going to be passing a back marker there. Gave Rodriguez quite the opportunity to jump up and try to get that pass done, but I think he's enjoying the hypermiling a bit.
Yeah, well, I always like using a back marker to try and get some hypermiling, try and get some fuel saving. Not working for him today. So we'll wait to see. Late on the brakes is Rodriguez as he tries to hold on, almost get to the back of Eileke. And he actually does a little bit of a drift and loses time, heats up those tires. That's not going to make the tires very happy out here today. But he's still in this. He hasn't lost full control. He's still on the back. And he'll hold on. Now, this is the replay we're looking at. This is the Shane's. He's just had a spin. Now, I didn't see any tires there. I didn't see him take any tires. So they're not cold tires. That just looks like he got a little bit too hot, trying to be a bit aggressive right now.
Yeah, and it could be they're still kind of hot and worn because he's really been pushing it hard to try to keep up where he was trying to get past Maines. Maines was really making him fight hard and put a lot of energy into those tires. When you put the energy into them, the rubber comes off of them. So you got to be careful with how much you use.
Yeah, you don't exactly want your tires getting too covered up in marbles this stage of the race. Especially now we've got the debris model as well, so any driver's going a little bit wide, probably kicking up some dirt onto the track. We've not seen a lot of that, but you can just see it there on the run, on the exit there of 13, just on the outside on 13. Just a little bit of debris. These drivers are lapping. They're lapping okay. They've got a 10-second advantage to Maines and Volkingham, so there's no need for them to start going a little bit too aggressive. The question is that mistake from Rodriguez just a sign that they're struggling out there? Because at the end of the day, they need the time and space. Marc-Anthony Hinkson, he's hoping that there's space there on Cipriano. Makes a very nice move in a corner you don't usually expect it at turn 8. But if it works and if it fits, well, you get it.
Yeah, this is kind of a let's see if this works. Well, that didn't work. Let's see if this works. Hey, I made it through. So when you're out there racing, you've got to try things. You don't always know what's going to happen. I know a lot of people, oh, we've got a couple more into the pits here. Yeah, I'm thinking nobody's going to be able to make this whole race. This is going to be Ingram Harrison coming in, and right behind is going to be Wembley, I believe that was.
It's Christian Hinds, Noah Ingram Harrison, the two drivers who've come into the pits. So obviously the challenge is not there for them. So it'll be interesting now to see who can make that challenge out there and hold on to whatever they can on the fuel saving races. I love fuel saving races. This is the bread and butter of endurance racing, and we're going to put it in an hour-long race. What can you do in an hour? Can you hold on? Well, they're trying to hold on, definitely, and I hate to report it. Bryce Rodriguez has left my screen. We'll keep an eye out there. He is back, thankfully. Just a bit of a heartbreak for a moment there. Heart stopped as Rodriguez almost had a disconnect. He's back in it. We're keeping our eyes on Volkingham. This is, like I was saying though, Michael, this is why I love this sort of racing. Just the fuel-saving aspect of any endurance race. Put it into an hour-long race, it's very tough to try and make it work.
Indeed it is. And I know these guys want to try to do the entire race on one tank of fuel. This is not going to happen. These cars burn a lot of fuel. I would be incredibly surprised if anybody who's left out there who has not yet pit doesn't need to stop and make a run through the pits. Now, the advantage here is all this fuel saving now means to finish the race, they'll take on less fuel. As long as they've calculated it properly, they're going to be fine. As we watch on board with Volkingham going by that back marker there, trying to close up. Volkingham's really giving it to Maines, just like we were watching Duchesne do. Now, I think Maines is still trying to do a little bit of hypermiling here. He knows he's got the really good launch off these corners, but watch as we come up into this corner here. A little bit of a lift. Oh, that was actually a shift. And then he goes in. not so much of a lift on that one. That was right at the normal braking point. Now, as we come up here, a little bit of a shift, comes in, lifts off. Nope, goes straight into the brakes. I don't think he's trying to save fuel at this point.
Now, 12 minutes ago, maybe he's hit that number, or maybe he is having to concede. Be interesting. If he does concede and has to come into the pit, where does he come out in comparison to Deshane's there? Because remember, he took an early stop. Could have been an undercut. Be very interesting. One driver that we haven't kept an eye on for Mateo Kuzna, he has not been able to close that gap. That suggests to me he's in a bit of a fuel-saving pattern at the moment, and hopefully we'll wait to see. But again, this gap is half a second. It doesn't look it, but it is half a second. And Maines is now just relaxing because he knows there's not going to be a move from Folkingham this time by. He can just keep focusing on what he's doing, which hopefully is not that. He had a bit of a slide, and that could open the opportunity for Folkingham. And down they'll come into 4, but I don't think Daniel's going to get the run into 5 and 6. He'll look, but once again, the first 3 corners of this lap have almost claimed another victim.
Wow, that was quick. That was a really good reaction there. Fast hands from Maines, and Folkingham as well for not running into the side of him there, closing that gap up now. This could be the sign of pressure. Maines might be feeling a little bit of pressure from Folkingham. He knows Folkingham was back a good bit earlier on in this race, but in the past 7 minutes or so, he has been absolutely glued to his tail and cannot shake him. So Folkingham closing this up and putting some good pressure on Maines. I wonder if Folkingham's pressure is going to work out better than it did from Duchesne. Duchesne still sitting back where he was. Well, actually, he's moved up to P7 at this point. So he is really trying to put the hammer down and catch up to these guys. But the gap that he has to get back up there is a little over 30 seconds. That's going to make this super tight as our leader goes into the pits. That's going to be Bryce Rodriguez. Sorry, our P2 driver, Bryce Rodriguez, goes into the pits. He is going to make his run down. It looks like Mateo is going to try to get in there as well. So we have got a whole bunch of people making it into the pits, including Folkingham. Folkingham tired of trying to get around Maines the conventional way. I think he's going to try to do it in the pits, and we're going to see what the gap is now, because Duchesne, remember, has already made his pit stop. So Duchesne is going to be good to go on fuel. How is this going to work out as they come out of the pits?
Yeah, well, I've got a little stopwatch that goes cone to cone through the pit lane, and Folkingham gets out ahead of not only just Kuzna, but I don't see a Duchesne. Remember, he had a couple spins. He lost some time. And in fact, both those drivers were 3 seconds faster in the pit than Duchesne. Bryce Rodriguez was 3 seconds or 2.5 seconds slower than all these drivers, but he is still 9.5 seconds ahead of the leaders. So that's going to be interesting to see. The Shanes have to try and find a way to make 9 seconds up in 9 minutes. Well, on my maths, that's not enough. And I have a degree in accounting, and I'm pretty sure 9 in 9 does not go. But this man, what can he do? He's got 12 seconds on Maines. He has 26 seconds on Bryce Rodriguez. Maybe, just maybe, this is cometh the hour, cometh the man. It needs to be a clean entry into the pit lane if he's got any chance to hold this lead.
Yeah, meanwhile, Bryce Rodriguez is about, 12 and 14, so 25 seconds back. This is going to be really close. This has to be the ultimate splash and dash from our leader and from Garrett Maines. Both of them are going to have to get just the absolute down to the thimbleful amount of fuel in that car. As we look at Luis up there in the picture, he's now coming out. Is he going to be able to make this? It looks like going to be a hard run down to the first corner. Is Rodriguez going to be able to catch him and get out ahead? It looks like Rodriguez is still going to be in second place. Luis Belica is going to be in first, still holding onto it with a 29-second cone-to-cone time over Rodriguez, taking 32.
Yeah, and also Garrett Maines, he held on to it. The gap is still tight. And Mateo Kuzna, out of nowhere in the background, decides, I'm taking that. And he's gone up into fourth position. And now they've got the fuel. He's looking to go. They're going to have to be careful, because if they use systems to work out how much fuel they need, those systems usually take your average lap. And if you've been averaging fuel saving, it's going to give you less fuel. So you've got to make sure you put enough fuel in right now to make this go. I'm not sure who has enough, who doesn't have enough. All I know is right now, this is the battle. And Garrett now has the man he did not want to see behind him in Mateo Kuzna.
Yeah, now we've got a completely different race going on now. This is getting pretty tight. We've got Kuzner in fourth place. Holding onto that position in 3 is Garrett Maines. It is a very tight gap back to Kuzner, and then behind him, Falkingham. This little race right here, I think this is the race of the race. And behind them, unfortunately, 9 seconds back because of that little spin, well, that's going to be Deschaines. He just got into some trouble, got that car spun around. He would absolutely be part of this little group. Now, this is the group we saw forming earlier. It is all coming together. Kuzner is closing that up. A little bit different line going into that final corner. And then, bam, puts the power down. Now, who do we still have who has not been in the pits? Looks like Mark Anthony Hinkson and Henry Dury, I think, who currently has a black flag. So he will be visiting the pits for sure. And then Brandon William, and I think that's about it. Everyone else has made it to the pits.
Kuzna, out of nowhere, saw a gap and thought he could take that gap. Was unable to, and I did not think Mateo was going to go for that gap. But these drivers have been making that mistake through 2 and 3 so many times today. If you've got the commitment on the braking and into the corner, you can try and take it. Not going to make many friends with that little move, but you can just see the desperation. This is for the last spot on the podium, and more importantly, this is very important for Garrett Maines for the championship contention. He has to hold on to this. This is going to be a very interesting 5 minutes. Yes, there's just 5 minutes left to go, and maybe time has finally caught up to these drivers.
Yeah, now is when it's time to really make it happen. We are in the last 5 minutes, and when you think it's 1.7 or so, 1.65 minutes per lap, there's not a lot of time here. Now they've really got to make it happen. You have only a few opportunities to make a pass here at this racetrack because it is so wide open. You mentioned before going up through that turn 2, 3. Turn 1 is kind of a non-turn. It is just completely foot to the floor running through there. But you got to get that lift, get that nose turned around, and then hopefully be able to take whichever line it is you're taking. But man, this gets to be crazy as we watch right here. Look at this train. We have got Garrett Maines, Mateo Kuzner, and Falkingham right behind him, Daniel Falkingham, as they go through turn 1, make their lift into the brakes. Hard braking coming up into turn 3, and then, just try to bend the car around the bend, put the power back down. Couple of different ways to go through that next corner. Some people go far to the right. Some people just twist it like through there and take that that curbing on the outside. But these 3 right here, I once again, this is the race of the race.
It's the race of the race, and it's the biggest battle we've got on the track as well at this moment. And this is really now time for what Garrett Maines needs to do. He doesn't need to fuel save anymore. He's looking for an opportunity to just defend. Where can he find the pace that Kuzner does not have here today? Well, he's been very good at this section because look at Mateo diving in a bit too late. He really does like this section of the track, even though he has just been a little bit slower sometimes. He's really put the defense on when he comes here through 11 into 12. Not a place for Mateo to try and make a move. If it comes down to it that they have that run down into turn 9, look at what Mateo's going to do. He might, well, look at what Garrett's going to do as well. He'll look to try and have some defense because once again, they're tight. But I don't think, unless Garrett, and I'm knocking on wood, unless Garrett makes a mistake here into 15, I can't see Mateo looking for a move here.
Yeah, this is a tough place. Now, they do have different lines into that corner, but I think that's what allows Maines to really make a super launch and keep this gap between them. And he's able to get up into turn 2. So going through turn 1 now, watch him as he rolls through here. He's going to go into the brakes, get the car around, and he's really slowing it down a lot as Kushner tries to get the nose up in there. Gaines sees that, leaves space for him. He's not going to close that gap because he can't. If something were to happen, both cars would be out, and that would allow Falkingham to come through, which Gaines really doesn't want. And oh, he opens it up, saves the. Woo, that was tight. This is a little bit. I would say harsh from Kushner. Matteo is really pushing a bit too much there, trying to get his nose in. I think what needs to happen now is Maines really needs to open that up. Gaines, I was trying to should combine his first name and his last name, needs to open that up a little bit more as they make contact coming out of the corner. Looks like Maines is going to have to put some pressure back as Matteo Kushner comes back through and makes it up into third place.
Yep, he's not going to make any friends with that. And that's the second time that's happened to Maines today with a different driver. And you've got to feel unfortunate there. I'm sorry for Maines. Not the way you want to lose the position, but with 1:20 left to go, there's still an opportunity because they have not taken the white flag yet. But a man that probably will be taking the white flag right now is Lewis Bielecki. He's on the final lap. He's got 6 seconds. These guys will have one last dance around Navarra to see what they can do. I'm not entirely sure what Garrett can do around here, but he's got one last chance into the first few corners. Don't think he's got anything. He's have to go on the attack. He's not been able to go on the attack before, and you could just see as he locks up, he's got nothing.
Yeah, but he's much wider on this part of the corner as he puts the power down. He has closed up significantly. Now this is a full power going through that corner. He has closed this up. He has an opportunity going into this kind of sweeping left-hand corner, and then this heavy braking zone right here. Look at how much he is underneath the T-tray there. He is trying to knock the T off of that shelf. He wants his opportunity here. Has an opportunity to get the nose in there, but saves it. He knows he needs to wait for exactly 100% know it is right opportunity. That wasn't quite it. But now under braking, closing up once again, super tight, able to get the nose all the way up under there, and really a much better exit from Gaines. Matteo has really got his hands full. I don't know if Matteo's going to be able to hold on to this. This is a lot of pressure, even for somebody with that high of an I rating.
Well, for a man that doesn't need to worry, it is Lewis Bielecki. He started on pole. He snatched pole away from Rodriguez, and he's driven it well. He'll flash the lights. He'll do the shake. He takes another victory. Back-to-back victory for Lewis Bielecki. He will take it at Navarra. Bryce Rodriguez will come across the line in second, and we hit all eyes on the final corner. Kushner gets the better run out of turn 15. He will go back to 18 places up the field. He'll get that final podium position, and Garrett Maines will have to be content with 4th position. Daniel Falkingham comes back to take that 5th, and you're not having an issue there. You're not seeing a glitch. Riley Stansley will take 6th position. Matthew Deschaines on the final lap loses it at the corner he's done so well at all race at turn 5. Lost control of the car. The car went sliding around. One last battle to go. It is Charles Wimby, Mark Anthony Hickson. They're going to go side by side. Really good battling here. Wimby's going to hold this, and he's going to hold it side by side. They continue for Route 12. Great driving. Has Hickson kept on to this? He has. Into 13 they go. He will try and hold to the inside of 13. He gets it stuck. Nowhere for Wimby to go. Wimby will have to look one last time for an overtake. I don't think there's any time. The track's running. On the defenses goes Hickson. Wimby will try around the outside of 15, and he almost got it done. But a great little battle to finish off there for P11. Mark Anthony Hickson can be very proud of that.
Indeed he can, as can Charles Wembley, because Wembley really made a good run there, put a lot of pressure, placed that car beautifully through that final section. Wonderful attack, difficult defense. Meanwhile, here we are, P14 back with Zach Mertes, just trying to close up, finish the race. Not much of a showing there, but you know, I like the yellow car personally. I love that color. It's super bright. It really catches your attention. So yeah, got a little from us there.
Yep, the little yellow card there, finishing off the race. So let's just go down those results, because Lewis Bialicki did take the win. Flag to finish in the lead, with Bryce Rodriguez just behind him. And then Matteo Kuzna makes up 18. 1-8 positions to finish in third, just getting that third away from Garrett Maines, who finishes in fourth. And a net zero for Daniel Folkingham, who finishes in fifth. Riley Stansney will be sixth. Matthew Deschaines will take seventh. Lasagna Ranieri will be eighth, with Christian Hines in ninth, and Noah Ingram Harrison with that nice little battle at the end there for 10th.
In P11, Mark Anthony Hinkson was able to hold out there at the end against Charles Wimbley. Really good running from the two of those. And Andy Trupiano in 13th, Zachary Mertes in 14th, Aaron Ramon, Samuel Burnett, Brendan Blend, Connor Henry, Anton Skopler, and Brandon M. William finish out your top 20.
Yep. And then we get Henry Jury, who was the last man who finished 3 laps down in 21st. And then Brandon Devine retired early on in 22nd. Mahid Rahman and Eddie Blanco did not set well, they did not even turn up. Sorry, well, they did turn up, but they didn't start the race. They do finish, though, net officially 23rd and 24th in the day. That was the race, and I think it's fair to say we do have a couple interviews, so it's only fair to start with the winner, Lewis Bialicki, who I've got to apologize, Lewis. I heard that you've never driven this car until tonight. First question, why not? Second question, how did you find it?
Well, I think I drove the car before in the pre-qualifying, but other than that, never really had an experience in this car. But well, I really like this car, to be honest. It's quite fun, especially also with the flames that are coming out when you shift down, and it's quite tricky. It can be quite snappy. And normally I don't really drive GT3, I pretty much only drive the Porsche Cup car, so I never really got around to buying the old McLaren, and when it was still in service I never really had the chance to drive a GT3, so I'm glad this worked out like that.
Yeah, I'm glad it worked out. I'm glad that you were able to been able to make a good go at this today, because it looked fantastic. You really snatched it in qualifying, and then it was just a case of just keeping Bryce behind you until the very late pit cycle. It looked a couple times you had a couple moments with him, but it looked pretty much that you were in control around there at such a hard car and a hard track. How exactly was the track for you out there?
It was pretty tricky. I mean, I know the track from when I create some setups for the Mazda around here, so I kind of knew the track limits already and where you had to push, but you can't really compare a Mazda with this machine, so it was quite tricky to still figure it out, but quite lots of fun and quite rewarding as well if you push at the right places. And with Bryce behind me, I wasn't sure at the start if I was also trying to figure out if I could do a no stop, so just save enough fuel to make it to the end without using the pit lane, but calculated that it was way too long, and then I just decided I'm gonna push it to the end and then go to the pit lane and then finish my race. And yeah, I was just trying to figure out mid-race or at the start of the race if Bryce, since it looked pretty easy for him to keep up, and I was pushing quite hard from the early on. So I was trying to figure out if he was actually saving fuel behind me or not, since when there was a small gap somewhere, he immediately would get back to me, so I couldn't quite figure out if it was due to the slipstream or to just very similar pace, or if he was fuel saving behind me or not.
So this is round 4, another victory, back-to-back victories, 2 more races to go, and that championship battle is just getting very tight now between yourself and Garrett Maines. We don't know what the next races hold. Is there anything you'd like to see to give you a bit of advantage? Because let's be brutally honest, you've kind of had a bit of an advantage. I'm not saying this as a bad thing. You've been lucky with it being the Nordschleife last time, and now a track like Navarra. Is there anything you'd like to see in the next 2 rounds to help you?
I mean, I'm just hoping for a road car. I don't think it will happen since we're headed back-to-back, or pretty much road courses or road races, since that's probably my best place to be. So, and I know Garrett is very talented in all the other stuff like rallycross and all the ovals, so I guess he can also quite do dirt oval quite well, and I mean he's also strong in road races, so if I catch the wrong combo with the road race, I think I will also have a hard time against him.
Well, we'll wait to see what the team PT Autosport will give. But before we let you go, Lewis, it's only fair enough to give you a shout out once again as you have another victory.
I will shout out my brother since I'm actually not home at the moment, but at my family's place, and I'm landing his rig at the moment. So otherwise I couldn't participate in this. So thank you for that. And yeah, thank you for all the people that were watching and to all the organizers that are organizing these fun events.
He didn't know the car. He barely knew the track. He knew the track. He almost had to get ready to a new rig. But that is Lewis Bialicki, champ winner of today. And the man he beat is Bryce Rodriguez, who finished in P2. He is standing beside Michael Johnson.
Indeed. So, Bryce, quite the run there. Looked like you had a couple of really good opportunities that you just couldn't shake him enough to make your pass happen.
Yeah, I first just want to give a massive thank you to the whole PT Autosport team for putting this event up. It's great to be able to compete against such high-level drivers. Yeah, I mean, going into qualifying, didn't really expect to qualify P2, and then Luis is the real deal, so I kind of had to just give it absolutely everything for the first stint, and yeah, I gave it everything I had, but again, on this track, it's just so hard to pass. And then I think he was doing a little bit of fuel saving there, so yeah, I knew I didn't have him on raw pace, so I just tried everything I could. Didn't really work out, but happy to come in P2 and bring home some points for the championship.
So was there any point in the race where you felt like, okay, fuel saving is the right thing here? Because we just heard from Luis that he was saying it seemed like there was some stuff going on with fuel saving, and then suddenly you would catch up. Were you having to do some massive fuel saving and then try to make those opportunities stick, or did you just kind of go full out the whole time?
It's a bit tricky to kind of make up a strategy on the fly with only like an hour of practice to go. You're not really sure of the fuel usage throughout the race, so you know, when I would try to fuel save, he'd kind of like pull away. Again, just didn't have the pace to kind of keep up and also fuel save massively, so I tried, but I was kind of pushing a lot just because I wanted to keep that gap as close as possible.
So personally, I love this car. The Fax Machine is one of my favorite cars to drive. It has been since I first started racing in iRacing, I don't know, 10 years ago or so. Have you had a lot of experience with the car, and what do you think of it?
Actually, the first time I downloaded this car was for the qualifying round for the eSeries, so it's definitely a beast. It is not easy, probably one of the hardest sports cars to drive in iRacing. You really just have to like send it in corners and kind of hustle the car a lot. It doesn't really like to rotate well, but when it does rotate, if you kind of saw from the couple of passes, it's really easy to get the back end to come out. So it's such a hard car to drive. You need to have really a lot of finesse with the pedals, but it's a rewarding car to drive when you also get it right and not wrong.
Indeed it is. So anybody you want to give a shout out to?
Just want to give a shout out again to the PT Autosport team, especially Henry and Aaron, for putting up this event. A lot of work goes into putting up these iRacing events, especially for a great cause. A big thank you to Hyperion Racing Team and also Mo Handsome, and also my family and friends watching back at home.
In P2, that was Bryce Rodriguez putting together a beautiful race today. Thanks for being here, Bryce. I believe Craig is trying to have a little moment here with Henry.
Yeah, I'm doing my Martin Brundle with Bernie Ecclestone moment here. We got Henry Jury here, and Henry, what a combination you've cooked up to this. You've got to be happy with what's happened here today.
Yeah, you know, it's always fun I like to joke that I make these combinations with a maniacal grin on my face. You know, it's fun to sort of throw something different at them and sort of at the same time go back to PT Autosport's roots in a way a little bit. You know, we've thrown rallycross at them, we've had NASCAR at the Nürburgring, we've had all this stuff. So, you know, to go back to what is effectively a sports car race at a sports car track is a nice change of pace.
Yeah, and what a sports car you picked. This Legacy McLaren, it's really got the love on the sim, and it's really nice to just see it spread its wings once again. It's actually fantastic just to see this car. Was there, apart from the fact it was Legacy, was there any reason why you decided to pick the McLaren?
So I have to admit there's a soft spot in my heart for this car. I'm from Woking. I grew up 5 minutes from the McLaren factory, and I remember the announcement video when this car was released, and I thought it was the coolest thing ever. So there's a soft spot for it, but at the same time, this series is all about throwing challenges at drivers, throwing something unpredictable at them. So a lot of the combinations it's either something that we've tried and we've just found really fun, like the NASCAR at the Nürburgring, which is just the most fun I think you can have in a race car, or it's looking at the list of sports cars and going, what wouldn't people expect? So a little bit of both, really.
Yeah, I mean, just throw a little bit, expect the unexpected is the best way to say it, and I think you really have delivered here. The format as well really helped out there today. Really like seeing the fact that you had to force the drivers to make some time out there today. This is probably the last time this I know you can't give anything away. We don't even know, but I'm sure this is probably the last time you're going to put them in some sort of a comfort zone.
We've got a few tricks up our sleeve. It's there's always something planned, but no, it was exciting. I mean, there's so many. We always want to try and bring something out of these drivers that we feel they would have to use in the real world. And so much of the time it's stuff that I've struggled with and faced coming from sim racing to being a real world race car driver. It's stuff that I never expected. So, when we sit down to make these, a lot of it is right. What can we challenge them on? What haven't we seen them try to do? So, we wanted to see who would save, who'd be able to think on the fly, manage their strategy, work out their fuel. So yeah, we've got a few tricks up our sleeve, but I have to say, I got it wrong today. I jumped in. I haven't driven in iRacing for so long, and I thought, I'm going to fuel save. No one else is going to fuel save. I'm going to win this as a guest driver. It's going to be great. And I made the wrong call. I was so far behind. It was not good. Well,
we all make mistakes in sim racing, and unfortunately, I think the hand told for you today out there, Henry, was a bit unfortunate, but it is always nice to see you on the cameras there, just to see you out there. It's been a fantastic showing. It's only fair. It's your series. You get the final say here. So, just the usual. Any shout outs that you would like to give?
I mean, thank you as always, everybody, for taking part. It's the people, it's the drivers that make this happen and allow us to continue creating opportunities for sim drivers to move to the real world. So thank you, everybody, for competing. Thank you guys as well for putting on an awesome show. It's sim racing commentary is such a hard thing to find the sweet spot in, and you guys do an incredible job. So thank you so much, and excited to be back in 2 weeks, and I believe we have a much closer championship fight after today. So yeah, looking forward to 2 weeks from now.
Well, Henry, thank you for the kind words, and thank you for hyping up everything that I was getting ready to do. We look forward to seeing what maniacal and crazy contraction that you at PT Autosports have done. Until then, we will look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks' time. That is going to be everything for the day. And what a day it has been. So it only gives me time really to give thanks to the rest of the team. And a thank you to Michael Johnson for stepping in at the last moment. And he's not there, but you've got my lovely face. And beside me, Christian Deploy, and of course, Dougie with his fantastic cameras. So of course, we have said it. Next time, it is March the 22nd. Keep an eye on those times. I'm not entirely sure, but I do know daylight savings is coming up soon. I think we're safe though, but just remember to keep your eyes and ears glued to the Global Sim Racing channel, who, if you hit like and subscribe, you'll be able to keep up to date and know when these broadcasts will happen, as well as all our other broadcasts that will be happening later in this weekend, and also coming up in the midweek and later in the week. But it has been the day for Lewis Bialecki. The championship has closed up. And oh boy, has it closed up. Nobody knows what they're driving until the day of the race. Nobody knows what's going to happen next time. What we know, it has been a fantastic time here at Navarra. So until next time, race clean, race hard. And we will see you on the track.